Good evening, all of you. The objective for conducting this session is to analysis of recently conducting examination of CA Inter taxation paper. The two only income tax portion. So, as per my opinion, the income tax paper is too easy. Around 99% of marks. Around 99% of marks from masterminds material as it is. If you prepared well the material of masterminds, you would get 95% of marks, at least 50 marks out of 60 marks. That's an importance of masterminds material. So too easy. The paper is too easy. Now we'll go to analysis of recently conducting CA Inter taxation paper income tax portion. Okay, so let's go to first question. First question, 40 marks, total income problem. First question, 14 marks, total income problem. Given income and expenditure account, income and expenditure account, and some other information is given below. Other information has given below. So the first other information, first adjustment, the expenses on employer's remuneration benefits includes family planning expenditure 20,000 incurred for the employees, which was revenue in nature. The same was paid through account paycheck. Family planning expenditure. It was covered in section 36 subsection 1. Section 36 subsection 1. Section 36 subsection 1. Other deductions. Family planning expenditure. It says that section 36 subsection 1 says that family planning expenditure will be allowed as a deduction only to company assessees. Only to company assessees, not to any other person. Okay, one of the important. But here the assessee is an Ashish is an individual. Individuals are not eligible to claim family planning expenditure. Therefore, family planning expenditure debited in P&L account shall be disallowed because he is an individual. It will be allowed only to company assessees. Okay, so it was covered under section 36 subsection 1. Okay, so under second point, payment of salary of 25,000 per month is sister-in-law of Ashish, who was in charge of the accountant and receivables department. However, in comparison to similar work profile, the reasonable salary at market rate is 20,000 per month. This point relates to 40A subsection 2. Unreasonable payments made to relatives or close associates shall be disallowed. Relative includes spouse, brothers and sisters, lineal ascendant only. But sister-in-law, brother-in-law not covered under the definition of relative in such section. Therefore, this payment shall be treated as payments to outsiders. Hence, 25,000 entire amount will be allowed. Need not disallow the unreasonable portion because the payment was not made to relative. Okay, so PGBP related adjustment 1, A and B, both were covered in PGBP head. 40A subsection 2 and 36 subsection. I will give you the class verification, just wait. PGBP 40A subsection 2. 40A subsection 2, payment made to specified person. Specified person is nothing but relative or class associate. Relative includes relative has substantial interest. Relative includes Relative includes individuals means spouse, brothers and sisters, spouse, brothers or sisters are lineal ascendant or descendant of the individual. Here, brother-in-law, sister-in-law was not covered in the definition. Therefore, such payment shall be treated as outside payment. Outside payment will be allowed as deduction, even if it contains any unreasonable portion. Therefore, entire 25,000 will be allowed. Next, go to the second adjustment. Second adjustment, amount received by Mr. Ashish, an employee, contribution to EPF. Employee contribution. Employee contribution shall be first included in income of the assessee, then only eligible for deduction. The treatment of employee contribution is, it was also covered under section 36 subsection 1. Okay. So employee contribution first included in income side of the assessee, then eligible for deduction if it was deposited within the due date. Okay, but here he was not deposited within the due date. He was deposited after the due date. After the due date, therefore violation was made. Therefore deduction is not available. It is sufficient to include income side. Okay, welfare contribution. It was also covered in 36 section. Welfare contributions. Welfare contribution, employee, any sum received from employee towards their contribution to the welfare funds if such sum is remitted on or before the relevant due date. Okay, allowed as deduction if it was remitted on or before the due date, but in this problem he was remitted after the due date, therefore deduction is not available. Okay, so 36 related adjustment. Next, medical expenditure, third adjustment, medical expenditure 80,000 as appearing in income and expenditure account was expensed for the treatment of father. Medical expenditure eligible under section 80D, chapter 6 year deduction. Deduction is available up to 50,000. Here the actual expenditure is 80,000, but deduction is available only to 50,000. Medical expenditure of senior citizens and very senior citizens will be allowed as deduction only if no insurance medical policy was taken in the name of that person. If medical insurance policy was taken in the name of such person, then medical expenditure is not eligible for deduction. Dual benefits not available. Okay, so only whenever the medical insurance premium was not taken in the name of such particular person, then medical expenditure incurred will be allowed as deduction under section 80D. Here, given the provision 70 fathers, he was incurred medical expenditure of 80,000 to his father, 72 years old, as senior citizen, condition was satisfied and not covered by any health insurance policy. Not covered by any health insurance. If he was covered in any health insurance policy, then medical expenditure is not allowed. Dual benefits not available. Go and verify section 80D. One of the important section in chapter 6. Okay, yes, he was satisfied all the conditions here, therefore allowed as deduction under section 80D. 50,000 only. Maximum deduction cannot exceed 50,000. There was a limit. Okay, chapter 6 year deduction. Go and verify the chapter 6 year deduction. 80D deduction. Fourth payment, medical expenditure of senior citizens as well as very senior citizens. Senior citizens are also eligible, not only very senior citizens. Senior citizens are very senior. Medical expenditure shall be allowed as deduction, but maximum deduction cannot exceed 50,000. 50,000. Amount paid on account of medical expenditure for self spouse resident in India of the age 60 years or more. 60 years or more is nothing but senior citizen as well as very senior citizen. And no payment has been made to keep in force an insurance on such health of such person. That was the condition. No insurance policy was taken in the name of such person. Then only medical expenditure will be allowed up to 50,000. It was already covered, and this point was practically covered in problem number 6 also. This problem was also practically covered in problem number 6. This is the medical expenditure 80D related section. Here also the medical expenditure was incurred medical expenditure 25,000 and 15,000 for his mother and father, age 18 years. Okay. Practically it was covered in 6th number problem. Theoretically it was covered in 80D section. So 100% point was covered in mastermind's material. Okay. So next. Okay. So first adjustment PGBP section 36 related adjustment. Second adjustment also PGBP related adjustment section 36. Third adjustment related to chapter 60 80D. Okay. Next. Adjustment number 4. Adjustment number 4. General expenses appearing in the income and expenditure account includes 25,000 paid to Miss Angeline in 5th January 2020, a commission for securing work from new clients. This payment was made to her without deduction of TDS. Without a deduction of tax is nothing but without making TDS. Payment was made without making TDS. If payment was made without making any TDS amount, then disallowance gets attracted as per section 40A1A. 40A1A. PGBP head related adjustment. Disallowance of expenses. So 30% disallowed in case of payments made to residents, 100% disallowed in case of payments made to non-residents. Okay. So, but here 25,000 paid commission. Commission was paid 25,000 to Miss Angeline on 5th January 2021, a commission for securing work from new clients. This payment was made to her without deduction of tax. So here 194H section under TDS provisions was violated. Therefore, disallowance gets attracted as per section 40A1A. This 25,000 will not be eligible as deduction under the head PGC because TDS has not made by the payer. Okay. So TDS, subject to TDS, commission brokerage paid to, if it exceeds 15,000, then the payer is required to make TDS as per section 194H. Okay, but subject to a condition, TDS provisions are applicable only if payer's turnover during preceding financial year. Preceding financial year is nothing but 1920. Preceding financial year, the assessee's turnover, if he is a business assessee, exceeds 1 crore. If he is a professional person, exceeds 50 lakhs. Then only during the current previous year, TDS provisions get retracted. Otherwise, no need to make any TDS. But here the information was given. Here the assessee is a professional person. Please go and verify the beginning line. Professional service. Therefore, TDS provisions are applicable under section 194H only if preceding year turnover. Preceding year is nothing but 1920. 1920 turnover exceeds 50 lakhs. If he is a business person, if it exceeds 100 lakhs. But here assessee is a professional person, then check 50 lakhs whether exceeding 50 lakhs or not. The information was given in last adjustment. The gross professional receipts. The gross professional receipts during the preceding financial year 1920 was 52 lakhs. It exceeds 50 lakhs. Therefore, TDS provisions are applicable. TDS provisions are applicable. Hence, he is required to make TDS as per section 194H from commission payment because the amount exceeds 15,000 threshold limit. Okay, but he was not made any TDS. Without TDS, the payment was made. Therefore, violation was made punishable. The punishment is such expenditure will not be eligible for deduction under the head PGBP at the rate of 30%. Okay, 40A1A. 40A1A. So please verify the 40A1A TDS related 194H. 194H. Commission brokerage. Amount TDS shall be made on commission brokerage if it exceeds 15,000 at the rate of 5%. So one of the important, this is the old material, 43 material. But your applicable Finance Act 2020 amendments also. This is not an updated material. I will give you the information in old material. Okay. So there are some changes. Here also there are some changes. The first change is who is required to make TDS? Any person except individual HUF. The sentence was changed in Finance Act 2020. Earlier it was tax audit. Now turnover limit exceeds 1 crore in case of business persons. exceeds 50 lakhs in case of professional person during preceding financial year. Then only TDS provisions get subtracted under section 194H. And the rate also, there was a corona pandemic discount is available. That is 75% of applicable rate. 75%, that is 3.75% only. You can apply only 3.75%. Please go and verify the latest updated material. The provisions will be was changed. Okay, instead of 5%, apply only 3.75%. Okay, anyway, 194H gets subtracted. So verify in latest version. There are some changes in 194H. So anyway, for fourth adjustment relating to TDS. But here the assessee has not made any TDS, violation was made, hence such expenditure will not be allowed as business expenditure at the rate of 30% deduct, because the payment was made to resident. If it is paid to non-resident, then 100% deduct. But here the payment made to resident only, therefore 30% of 25,000 shall be deducted. Next, fourth and fifth and sixth related to section 32, depreciation related section. Depreciation related section, section 32. So depreciation debited in P&L account is 90,000. But depreciation as per Income Tax Act, you should require to calculate depreciation as per Income Tax Act in working note and check whether the amount of 90,000 will be allowed or not. Okay, so need to open a working note. Point number 5, depreciation related adjustment, section 32. 90,000, 40% rate of depreciation is applicable. Computer also 40%. Opening WDV, 40% rate is applicable. Next, furniture was acquired during the previous year. New furniture was acquired during the previous year on purchased on 31st August 2020 and put to use on the same day. Put to use 31st August, therefore more than 180 days. Full depreciation will be allowed. Furniture rate is 10%. Newly acquired furniture, therefore apply applicability of concept of less than 180 days or not. If it less than 180 days, then full depreciation 10%. Otherwise, if it is less than 180 days, half rate will be allowed. 10% into 50%, 5%. Here August 31st, I think it's more than 180 days. Therefore, full rate will be applicable. Next, and furniture was purchased and the payments were made. Payments relating to furniture. Payments relating to furniture was made in the following manner. 18,000 was paid in cash, not eligible for depreciation. 19,000 paid. 19,000 paid by account pay check, eligible for depreciation. Account pay check. 11,000 paid in cash, not eligible for depreciation. Therefore, furniture is eligible for depreciation only 19,000, because the remaining amounts of 18,000 and 11,000 will not be eligible for depreciation. Because there was a provision in depreciation, that is, if payment exceeds 10,000, then payment shall be made by way of account to pay check, account to pay bank draft, electronic clearing system. Otherwise, no depreciation will be allowed. That was the provision covered in section 32. I will give you the clarity in Masterminds material. Point which is relating to adjustment number 5 and 6. However, where the NSSC incurred any expenditure for acquisition of any asset in respect of which the payment or aggregate of payments made to a person in a day, otherwise than by account to pay check, drawn a bank or account to pay bank draft to use for electronic clearing system, exceeds 10,000. Such expenditure shall not, otherwise than by account to pay check, if not made by way of account to pay check, account to pay bank draft, electronic clearing system. Otherwise, such expenditure is not eligible for depreciation, not forming part of actual cost of such asset. Hence, no depreciation will be allowed. Any expenditure incurred for acquisition of asset. Any expenditure incurred for acquisition of asset. Any expenditure incurred for acquisition of asset which was paid in cash will not be eligible for deduction. Depreciation. 11,000 paid in cash to the transporter as a freight. Any expenditure incurred for acquisition of asset, not a forming part of asset. The 18,000 paid in cash at the time of purchase of new furniture on 31/8/2020. So 18,000 is eligible, okay. But 11,000 expenditure for transportation of asset will not be not a forming part of cost of asset. Apply such procedure, such provision is only expenses relating to purchase of assets. Okay, 32 related provision. Next, Mr. Ashish purchased a car for rupees 3,35,000 for personal use. However, the personal car brought into business. This is also related to 32. Personal car brought into business. He was purchased a car for rupees 3,35,000 for personal use. However, on 30th for 2000, he bought the said car to use their professional purpose. Personal car brought into professional purpose. So what is the treatment? Section 32 says that any personal asset brought into business subsequently, then actual cost to be considered as it is as cost of asset in the books of accounts. Actual cost to be considered as it is. Actual cost without a deduction of any depreciation. But in case of house brought into business, personal house brought into business, then notional depreciation shall be deducted and balance only eligible for as a cost of asset. House property, their house property is having something different treatment. Except house property, any other asset brought into business, actual cost to be taken as cost of asset directly without deduction of any depreciation. But in case of house property, reduce the notional depreciation for use of personal purpose. The balance only shall be treated as a cost of asset. But here the car was the personal car brought into professional purpose. Therefore, actual cost as it is to be considered as a cost. Therefore, 3,35,000 to be considered as a directly cost of asset. Then you can claim depreciation on actual cost. Okay, no need to make any deduction of depreciation. So next section 30, I will give you the clarification. Just wait. There was an illustration also. Illustration. This is the section 32 related illustration. A car was purchased by Soman for personal use, brought into professional use. Same provision as it is, except a little bit changes, amount changing. Okay. Next, anyway, depreciation related adjustment. Next, PPF contribution was made. PPF contribution, ATC deduction. ATC. PPF contribution eligible under section 80C. Will cover a number of problems in chapter 6 year deductions. PPF contribution, ATC deduction. And the last one is a class of professional receipts. Is related to 194H, TDS related. Whether he is liable to make TDS or not depends on turnover of the preceding year. TDS related problem, which was already given the clarification about this point. This point relates to fourth number adjustment, TDS related adjustment. TDS related is the fourth number adjustment and the last adjustment. Last adjustments relate to TDS. Fourth one and last one relate to TDS related adjustments. So actually, as per my opinion, total income problem was too lengthy, around 3 pages. But practically, it's easy. Practically is very easy. Even normal students also can answer this question if they prepared well. Okay, there is no indirect question and so there is no complex provisions. The provisions were given in simple manner. But while solving the total income problem, you must have the complete knowledge of entire syllabus. But so many of chapters were covered. Chapter 6A PPF, Chapter 6A related provision, 2 adjustments TDS related provisions, 3-4 adjustments PGBP related provisions. Okay. Question number 1 completed. Next question number 2. Question number 2 are relating to residential status. Question number 2 relating to residential status. Mrs. Rohini, age 62 years, senior citizen, was born and brought up in New Delhi. She got married in Russia in 1996 and settled there since then. Therefore, she is settled in Russia since 1996. She settled in Russia since 1996. But since her marriage, she visits India 60 days each year during the summer break. During the summer break, regularly every year, he visits India for 60 days. Even if any person visit India 60 days, even in such case also, she will be treated as a non-resident. For getting the status of resident in India, at least stay in India 182 days or 120 days. Below 120 days stay in India, always be treated as a non-resident. 60 days is not sufficient for getting resident status, for getting the status of resident. Therefore, so she will be treated as non-resident. Non-resident in India. So now calculate the total income of Mrs. Rohini if his status is a non-resident, based on non-resident status. The points were provided here. Non-resident, based on non-resident, calculate the total income of Rohini. Okay, this type of problem was covered in our material. We'll give you the information in residential status. Problem number 9. Problem number 9. So here Geeta and Lena. Geeta is a resident and ordinarily resident. Lena is a non-resident. So here the question is based on non-resident. Lena related column is perfectly matched that problem. Lena related column only, because Lena is a non-resident here. Sorry, Geeta settled in Malaysia. Sorry, Geeta settled in Malaysia. Geeta settled in Malaysia. Geeta related column. Geeta is a non-resident. Geeta is non-resident. Lena is resident and ordinarily resident. Therefore, now the problem is related to Geeta. All the points were covered in 9th problem. Some of the points were covered in 8th problem also. 8th problem answered the question in 3 statuses. One is resident and ordinarily resident, resident but not ordinarily resident, non-resident, the third column. Okay. Anyway, this problem is related to 8th and 9th problem in Masterminds material. Also given. The first problem completely covered in our material. Adjustment, first adjustment, second adjustment 100%, third adjustment 100%, fourth adjustment 100%, fifth 50%, last 90%. And guest papers also, problem number 5. In problem number 5, 40% of the total income problem was matched with problem number 5 in guest questions. Okay. Second question, residential status, CRD 9th problem. So 70% of second problem was covered in CRD 9th problem. Some of the points were also covered in 8th problem. But only solve the problem only in one status, that is non-resident. It's sufficient. Okay. So in residential status guest questions also, the 9th problem was given. Problem number 4. Next, B. TDS related problem. Examine whether TDS provisions will applicable or not. Check. There are question marks. First question, whether TDS provisions are applicable or not. First, and if applicable, under which section it will be made a TDS. And also specify the TDS rate of TDS, whether applicable or not, under which section it will be applicable. Then write the information as applicable, first question. Second, under which section it will be applicable. Third, what is the rate. Simple information. Need not made any solution. Just if you studied well the TDS provisions, then automatically you can answer this question very easily. So, and the amount required to be deducted. Amount, whatever the amount are required to be deducted as TDS. So, whether TDS provisions applicable or not, first question. Second, under which section it will be made a TDS, second question, section number. Third question, what is the rate applicable at present? Fourth question, what is the amount will be deducted as a TDS? 4 questions each point. So the information is 4 types. Point number A, contract payment made to purely 194M related section. 194M. 194M related. 194M says that if 50 lakhs payment exceeds to contractor 50 lakhs, then TDS shall be applicable as per section 194M. Okay, 194M. First question, contract payment exceeds 52 lakhs 50,000. So I will give you the information. Just wait. 194M. 194M. Payments made to contractor. If it exceeds 50 lakhs, then required to make TDS. The rate of TDS is 5%. Here also pandemic discount. Go and verify the latest version. In Finance Act 2020, there was an amendment. In each and every TDS rate, there was a discount provided by the central government. The discount is 75% of present applicable rate. It is sufficient to make TDS at the rate of 75% of present applicable rate. The applicable rate is 5%. 75% of 5%, that is 3.75% is sufficient. You can apply only 3.75%. Go and verify the latest version. Each and every TDS, each and every section, the TDS rate is having a discount at the rate of 25% of present applicable rate. So here the payer is required to make TDS at the rate of 3.75%. Yes, threshold limit exceeds 50 lakhs. Here also the threshold limit exceeds 50 lakhs. Therefore TDS required to be made. 52 lakhs 50,000. Payment was made 52 lakhs 50,000. If it exceeds 50 lakhs, then automatically TDS 1000 gets attracted as per section 194A. Okay. Next, 194C. Mr. Rahul, a wholesale trader. Mr. Rahul, a wholesale trader of spices, post turnover during the preceding previous year. 194C. Here also a contract payment. 194C gets attracted. Contract payment for construction of office godown during the January to March 2021. So, contract payment 194C. Okay. 194C threshold limit 30,000 is a single payment, or 1 lakh is an aggregate payment. If it exceeds 30,000 for individual payment, or 1 lakh aggregate payments. 194C. 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 Payment to contractors. If it exceeds 30,000, if it is a single payment, or aggregate payments made to made during the current previous year exceeds 1 lakh, then TDS provisions shall be applicable. Here the payment made is 5 lakhs. Here the payment made is 5 lakhs. Therefore TDS provisions applicable automatically as per section 194C. Rate of TDS 1% or 2%. Here also 75% rate is applicable, 0.75%. Discount is available in latest version. Go and verify the latest version. 2%, 1.5% is available. 75% of present applicable rate is provided. It is applicable in Finance Act 2020. It's a discount provided in Corona pandemic situations. It is sufficient to make 0.75%. If payee is individual or HUF. Payee is nothing but contractor. Recipient is an individual HUF. Then rate applicable is 0.75%. If payee is any other person, then applicable rate is 1.5%. Okay. Next, C point, commission 194H. commission exceeds 15,000, then TDS shall apply. Here 1,20,000 was paid. Therefore, TDS provisions applicable. 194H. 194H, the payer must be any person except individual HUF whose turnover during the preceding year does not exceed 1 crore or 50 lakhs. But here the associate's turnover during the previous year is 95 lakhs only, not exceeding 1 crore. Therefore, he need not made any TDS. 194H does not attract it during the current previous year, because his turnover during preceding financial year does not exceed 1 crore, 95 lakhs only. That's why he need not made any TDS as per section 194H. Okay. Even if the amount pay exceeding threshold limit, go and verify the 194H section. And the fourth one is withdrawal from cash withdrawal. 194 cash withdrawal, 194N. If cash withdrawal exceeds 1 crore, then TDS shall be applicable as per section 194N. Cash withdrawal, 194N. Cash withdrawal up to 1 crore, no TDS. If it exceeds 1 crore, TDS will be applicable at the rate of 2%. 1.5% in the pandemic situations. Here the amount withdrawal is 1 crore 20 lakhs. Therefore, TDS provisions applicable as per section 194N. 194N. Anyway, entire TDS provision, entire problem relating to TDS. Okay, 4 into 2 marks, 8 marks. All 4 sections were very important, which was already covered in your material and which was already provided in guest papers also. So go and verify the guest papers. TDS, all 4 sections was given in guest papers. 194C, 194C, 194H, 194M, 194N. If you prepared all these 4 sections, you can solve this problem very easily. Just they are asking only right to whether the applicability of section, which section it will be applicable, and what is the applicable rate at present. In such case, you must apply the discounted rate, 75% of existing rate. Fourth one, what is the amount of tax to be deducted? TDS amount. Okay, 4 sections, 4 questions, 8 marks. Simple questions. Next. Next question, purely related to house property. Purely related to house property. So house property and easy problem also. Same model problems were covered in material. Actually, here the status is the house is having 3 units: unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. Unit 1, unit 2, unit 3. Unit 1 50%. Unit 1 50%. Unit 2 25%. Unit 3 25%. Unit 1 50%, Unit 2 25%, Unit 3 25%. Unit 1 50% let out for residential purpose, LOP. Therefore, taxable under the head income from house property. Unit 2 used for business. Used for the purpose of its business. Therefore, the Unit 2 25% will be taxable under the head PGBP, not related to house property. Remaining 25% self-occupied by assessee is also taxable under the head income from house property. Very simple. The property will be classified into 3 types: Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3. Unit 1 house property, let out property. Unit 3 also house property. Unit 2 taxable under the head PGBP. So 75% of the house taxable under the head house property, 25% of the house taxable under the head PGBP. Okay, that's the main concept involved in this problem. This model problem was covered in 10th number problem in your material. Even 8th, 6th also contains the same concept. 10th number problem. Problem number 10, similar model problem. This is, but here is only 2 parts: 50% self-occupied, 50% let out. But the PGBP part was not available here. That's the difference. The remaining problem is same: 50% self-occupied, 50% let out. But here is added another portion which is used for business purpose. The difference. The remaining problem is very easy. Okay. 10th number problem. Even 9th also having, 9th, 8th also having same type of concepts, which was also given in your guest papers. 10th number problem, CRD 10. Also provided in guest papers. Next problem, purely relating to capital gain. Capital gain. Section 112A. Section 112A. The problem relates to section 112A. Transfer through recognized stock exchange and STT paid. So, the problem relating to this concept was also available in your material. Go and verify the problem number 24 in capital gain chapter. 112A related problem. This is 24th problem. Second bit. What shall be our answer if these shares have been sold through recognized stock exchange and subject to securities transaction tax? 24th problem, B bit. STT related problem and 112A related problem. Okay, so it's purely covered in your material. If you can solve 24th problem, also you can solve this problem as it is. Okay, next, Roman number 2 is also related to capital gain. Capital gain, here the sections covered in 54 EC NHAI bonds, investment, reinvestment in NHAI bonds. 54 EC and 50C stamp duty value was also covered. Computation of capital gain and claim exemption under section 54 EC because he invested NHAI bonds. Okay. Related model is also available in your material. That is problem number 9, I think. Problem number 16. But here he invested NHAI bonds as well as RECL bonds. But similar model, 16th model problem. 16th model problem also given in guest papers. 54 EC exemption and 54C stamp duty value provision is also there. Next problem is also related to capital gain. 50B slum sale. Section 50B. Slum sale. 50B. So the related problem is also there in your material. Slum sale related problem. Slum sale net worth to be considered as a kind of cost of acquisition. Indexation facility is not available. So similar model problem is available in your material. Problem number 9. Problem number 9. In fact, problem number 9 is more difficult when compared to the problem given in examination. Okay, 9 is more difficult when compared to exam problem. Okay, 50B. If you can solve the problem number 9, then you can easily solve the problem given in examination. Okay, 50B related, slum sale related problem. Okay, slum sale is applicable where the entire business was transferred for lump sum consideration without recognizing individual assets. Okay, slum sale indexation is not available. Net worth of business to be considered as a cost of acquisition. How to calculate net worth? The total value of total assets minus outside liabilities. Revaluation figures does not consider. All the provisions were covered in 9th problem, not in your guest paper. The problem was not given in your guest questions. Next, clubbing provisions. Clubbing provisions. Similar problem is there in your material. Clubbing provisions. Problem number 4. I think problem number 4. Similar problem relating to problem number 4. husband and wife income is there, and the remaining incomes relating to minor children income, in whose hands it will be clubbed. Problem number 4, similar model problem. So this is assignment problem, right? There is a problem in classroom discussion also. Problem number 3 in classroom discussion. This is the similar model problem. Assignment 4 and CRD 3. Similar model problem. The points are also similar. Clubbing provisions. Easy problem, easy to solve, as it is easily covered in your material, subject to some changes. Next, set off and carry forward. Set off and carry forward. The similar model problem is covered in your material, and I think it's problem number 2. Problem number 2 is a similar model problem. Problem number 2. This is the model. 70% covered in this problem. 2 houses and 3 businesses and capital loss, capital gain. All the points were covered as it is. Salary income, house property, 3 houses, house 1 in Delhi, house 2 in Chennai, house 3 in Mumbai. And the textile business, cosmetics business, speculative business 1, speculative business 2, capital related, other sources related benefits. Easy problem. If you know all the provisions relating to set off and carry forward, table provided, then you can easily solve this problem. Very easy. There is no complicated calculations involved in this problem. All the points were provided directly. Simple. Set off and carry forward. Okay, next one, 139.1, return filing, return of income related question. 139.1. This is relating to loss return. Loss return. If loss return has not filed, then what is the consequence? Okay, for which loss return compulsorily filed within the due date for filing the return of income. For which loss return is not filed even within the due date for filing the return of income, then also the loss can be carried forward and set off. Okay, loss return section, exclusively loss return section, 139 subsection 3. 139 subsection 3, loss return. Go and verify the section. The entire information is available in such section. You can write as it is in the section also, you can get full marks. It's a purely theory question. House property loss, only one loss. House property loss can be carried forward even if loss return was not filed within the due date. Not filed within the due date, that is filed belatedly. Then also house property loss can be carried forward. Carry forward facility is still available. But except house property, the remaining all losses will be eligible to carry forward. Only loss return shall be filed within the due date. Otherwise, no carry forward facility. That's the information. Okay. Next, second question, 139.1. There are 3 points. Check whether those persons are entitled to claim, entitled to file return of income or not. 3 points. In 3 cases, the assessee is required to file return of income or not. Please verify and check. If you have complete information about 139.1, you can easily answer this question. All the provisions were covered in section 139.1. I will give you the information, just wait. The first point HUF covered in 139.1 section B bit. Individual HUF related problem. Individual HUF AOP BOI are required to file return of income if his gross total income exceeds basic exemption before claiming chapter 6A and 54 series, 54 exemption. Before claiming deductions and exemptions, if his gross total income exceeds basic exemption limit, then he is required to file return of income. Okay, that's the answer. First question. Manish and Sons sold a residential property which has the long-term capital gain 12 lakhs, which was invested in capital gain bonds and want to claim 54 EC. Now we should consider before claiming 54 EC, his capital gain is 12x. Before claiming exemptions and deductions to be considered. Here the before claiming 54 EC exemption is capital gain is gross capital gain is 12x. It was exceeding basic exemption limit. Therefore, he is required to file return of income mandatorily. The third point, the second point is also related to C, point number C. If as resident and ordinary resident having any asset located outside India for a beneficial owner or beneficiary for an asset located outside India or beneficiary of an account located outside India, then he is required to file return of income in India. The second point relates to C. And the third point is not covered here. This is the old material, but in new material, the third point also covered. Current bills. If electricity bills paid exceeding 1 lakh rupees, then the assessee required to file return of income compulsorily, even if he is not having any income. That third point was covered in new material. Sudhakar has incurred an expenditure of 1 lakh 20 towards consumption of electricity consumption. So this point was covered in new material. Go and verify the new material. If you have new study material, go and verify this point was already covered. Electricity bills, hotel bills, etc. There are 2-3 points were added recently in 190, 139, one section amended points. The following persons made any of these transactions, then also they are required to file return of income. The new points were added recently. Verify in new material compulsorily. It was available in that 139 subsection. Okay, this is the income tax portion for July 2021 examination. I think, and as per my opinion, paper is too easy. Even normal students also can solve this paper perfectly if they are having sufficient preparation. Okay, easily to get at least 50 marks, out of 60 marks in income tax paper itself. Okay, so where I think in previous 3 years, previous 2 years, 4 attempts, I think I never seen this type of easy paper in income tax subject. Okay, so, and one more important, the importance of our material. 99% of paper was covered in masterminds material, either in theory part or in problematic part. But the paper totally within the circle. No completely uncovered topic was not given in this paper. All the provisions were completed. Okay. Thank you all of you.